this is Kevin. I am working whole hog on your engine. Right here is what is left of the coolant hose that blew. That's just a 3-inch section of hose. It's crazy that that does so much damage and it takes so much work to get to. Okay, it's down right there. It hooks up to that. That's your turbocharger. It cools that. My hope, I am going to replace this hose and hook it back up to that hole right there. And then I can put the coolant tank back in. I can pressurize the entire cooling system and check to see if the heads or head gaskets are damaged. Those are the cylinder heads. It's still a lot of work to get down that far. My hope is that because these engines are so robust, that hopefully coolant only got bled out from here to there, only like that far, and hopefully the engine stayed cool enough that it didn't do any damage. That is a possibility, and by the sounds of this is a very common issue. Instead of being a rubber hose that deteriorates with heat, they now use silicone, high temp clamps, good to go. So that's my update. I'm gonna run to town, see if I can get some supplies, get one of them hoses, and I will let you know soon. Jeep Ram Ecodiesel turbo coolant hose. Yee-haw. Getting those clamps loose. This is my trick. Get yourself a screw. Shoot it in there. Just like that. Comes right apart. So everything here at this point in those holes should only be air going into the engine. But if I jump the starter right now, there's a port on the lower left side. So something's going on over here. I have to do some investigation to figure out what. So that's not great. I'm not going to assemble it like that. I'm not convinced what it is. But after all this cranking, I still don't have pressure. I don't have a blown head gasket. That's good. Okay. I have done some heavy degreasing. I got a new intake. That looks a whole lot better. And with some major cleaning in the intake port, that looks and sounds a whole lot better. Time to get this thing put back together. Jeep Ram Ecodiesel. If you are replacing your intake manifold with a Dorman, make sure that your intake manifold runner control is not compromised. The Dorman does not come with it. Jeep does not sell that. You have to buy a Jeep manifold to get that. If your stock intake looks like this, chances are that gear did break off that IMRC. As a bonus, getting this genuine part, we get the IMRC, we get both runner position sensors, and we get a map sensor. How about that? The intake is in. The turbo outlet and the wastegate motor are in. The fuel rails have been cleaned and installed with new hex head bolts. Instead of these bolts you can't access without a chisel. The throttle body wire harness and fuel lines are coming together. I'm sure I'm going to have to bleed the fuel lines, but otherwise I am ready for a test fire. I've still got to flush the coolant system and change the oil and just check things over, but check that out. We are all back together from the turbo coolant hose, and now it's time for an oil change. So we get to pull this back off. We probably have to pull that intake tube off to get to the filter way down there. We've got our 27mm socket, and we will drain the oil with this 13mm way undersized plug. And we just snugged that rubber washer drain plug up so the next person doesn't have to He-Man it off. We set ourselves a reminder to clean the floor, and we will dump 8 quarts of full synthetic 5W40 into the engine.